You ever stop and think about what story the documents we leave behind will tell about us? Well, today, we're going to do just that. We're pulling on one single thread, an obituary, to unravel this incredible multi-generational story of a family from rural Alberta. We're going to piece together their lives, their values, their legacy, using only the records they left for us to find.
It's a really fascinating idea, isn't it? That an obituary isn't just an ending. It's actually a key. It's the starting point that can unlock this whole narrative of love and hardship and community that spans decades. It connects the names and dates to a real life, a life that was lived.
And here it is. This is our key. These words from his obituary give us our very first glimpse of George Burgess. And they don't just describe a man, They really set the tone for the entire family's story we're about to uncover, a story all about strength and perseverance.
So let's start by meeting the people right at the heart of this story, whose lives and memories are just woven together in these public records. Okay, so on one hand, we have George. He was a farmer through and through, a water well driller, and he even faced vision impairment with this just incredible spirit. And right beside him, his wife of 36 years, Alma. She was a woman whose life was just full of family and a huge circle of friends. Their obituaries really paint this vivid picture of two unique people brought together by love and family. And then the story gets bigger. We find the obituary for George's sister, Eileen. It tells us that she grew up in the exact same area, near Conjuring Lake, before she went on to become a teacher. And just like that, another piece of the puzzle just clicks right into place, connecting these siblings to a shared home and a shared history. We've met some of the key people, so now let's actually map out how they all fit together. Let's build the Burgess family tree. So, when you pull all the details from these different documents, you get this really clear family tree. It all starts up here with George's parents, William and Eva. They had 3 kids, George, Eileen, and Hilda. Then George married Alma, and their branch of the family grew with their own children, William, Peter, and Donna. And then eventually their grandkids, including Chase and Liam. It's amazing, right? In just a few documents, we can trace a story that spans 4 generations. Even a formal document like a will can tell you so much about a family. In this little excerpt, George appoints his children, William and Donna, as his personal representatives. Now, that's more than just a legal instruction. It's this profound statement of trust. It's like he's passing the torch to the next generation. Every family story has a place, right? A physical heart where it all begins. And to really understand the foundation of the Burgess family's values, we have to go to the place that shaped them, the farm. This image, a home literally being built from the ground up, is such a perfect symbol for the Burgess family's foundation. George's obituary tells us this farm is where he learned the values that defined his entire life: hard work, resilience, and devotion. So the land wasn't just where they lived, it was what made them who they were. And to really get a feel for that environment, this quote from a local history article is just golden. It describes the Conjuring Creek region, the same area where the Burgess and Shalach siblings grew up, as a pioneer environment. This gives us a real sense of the world that forged their character. But the Burgess story wasn't just stuck on the farm. No way. It reached out and became deeply, deeply intertwined with the community all around them. Just look at this web of connections, all pulled directly from their obituaries. It maps out a life that was lived as part of a community. From their church congregations and social clubs to agricultural school, the Burgesses were a really integral part of their town's fabric. Okay, so in the middle of all these details, one very specific request appears in both George's and Alma's obituaries. And this is a huge clue about what really mattered to them. Their final wish was for people to make donations to the Conjuring Creek Community Cemetery Fund. So what does that seemingly simple request actually mean? Well, according to the Alberta Cemeteries Act, this is what's called a perpetual care fund. By asking for these donations, George and Alma were doing more than just supporting a place. They were investing in the permanent preservation of their community's history, making sure its stories would be remembered forever. And that brings us to the final part of our story, how this family's history, which was built on the farm and in their community, created a legacy that is still going today. So let's just step back and take a look at the whole journey. This timeline gives us a real bird's-eye view. We see births, marriages, and the passing of a generation. Each event is a marker in the family's shared history, and it leads us right up to the present day. And after all those decades, after all those lives, the family story now looks to the future. and it's carried forward by two young names. It all comes down to the number 2.
And here they are. This is where the legacy continues. Meet Chase and Liam. They're mentioned in their great-grandfather George's obituary, and they represent the next generation. They're the ones carrying the Burgess name forward, becoming the newest chapter in a story that started all those years ago on a pioneer farm in Conjuring Creek.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? From just a handful of public records, we've pieced together this beautiful story of family, resilience, and community. And it leaves us with one final big question. What threads are we leaving behind for future generations to find? And what kind of story will they tell?